Giovanni Ariutti and A Song of Ice and Fire and other works animator just made one of the absolute coolest adaptations of A Song of Ice and Fire that I have ever seen. And I encourage you all to go check it out before I break it down really quickly in this video. Show them some love, tell them I sent you. It's absolutely wonderful. So with that, let's dive in. We start with this very nice establishing shot of crow taking off in the Lands of Always Winter Beyond the Wall. He flies through the forest where the prologue takes place, and we get this nice lingering shot of the wall itself. Gives a very Aurora Borealis-esque vibe with the little twilight in the background, and then the way the wall and the ice kind of fade into the landscape, so you can't really tell where one starts and the other begins. Additionally, the wall is 800 feet tall, so you really get a sense of how far away and massive it is from this shot. We then see the raven fly by, and the camera work does this really neat little up and down with as if we're riding on the raven's back. This here is Winterfell, post-tower destruction, and then the raven eventually makes it to this beautiful shot of King's Landing. You can see a few monuments of interest that the raven will fly by later, but right now look at the sun over the bay and just kind of how the sky and the reflection in the trees. Quite beautiful. The raven then flies by the Sept of Baelor, the dragon pit to its right, and then up to the Red Keep, where it perches and turns to us, revealing that it is in fact the three-eyed crow. The next shot is of Theon quickly waking up after having a nightmare. This is actually a shot from one of his earlier A Song of Ice and Fire animations, which you should also check out on his channel. The second one he made, called like Theon Greyjoy, Lord of Winterfell, it's of him prowling around at the walls until he hears too much wolf howling. He goes to investigate it, and he sees Shaggy Dog, and at that point he wakes up. Next shot is of a fighting pit with a man with an axe about to kill some armored knight. I can't actually tell what this is supposed to be. I thought it would be like the fighting pits in Marine, but those are shown later and the sands are a little wider, so I'm not sure. Anyway, something's about to fall on his head, so I'm not sure. Next up is a can of wildfire as it lands and explodes on one of Stannis' ships during the Battle of the Blackwater. We transition with this fire into the fire of Beric and the Hound fighting, and this is one of the coolest shots of the clip because we see both characterizations quite well. The Hound has changed a little since Giovanni's earlier work where he had the Hound and Arya in a little clip, but if you look at it, you can kind of see the Hound's terrified expression, and then that quickly turns into resolve as he gets on the counterattack, and we get this shot, which has to be probably the coolest single still of the entire clip. I mean that sword, that expression, all of it right there. We then get Bran either jumping or falling from the window. He was a ways out, but he's not going to make it much further. We've got Nymeria leading the wolf pack, and then we get the Bear and the Maiden Fair, or Brienne during her Feast for Crows chapter, fighting that bear before Jaime comes and yanks her out. The sun in the background kind of creates this really neat halo around the bear. Next up is Davos and Melisandre in the smuggler's route as Melisandre gives birth to the shadow baby. Very impressive for a baby. Really cool shot there. Again, another sunset shot here with Dany and her silver. Kind of oddly eerie as we know what's about to happen, and this is one of the most pivotal moments of her life. There's another similar eerie shot here that's also quite cute, kind of the little baby Aegon when you realize what's about to happen. Again, the blood red on the bottom. It's quite a scary shot, but also quite well drawn, and kind of evokes that feeling of dread and terror very well. The large, comically cartoonish sword kind of highlights the atrocity as well. We then get a picture of Dolan Noy as he leads the heroic charge against Mag the Terrible. This is probably the most heroic last stand in A Song of Ice and Fire, just gotta say, because it actually changed a lot of the overall dynamic. When Castle Black was being attacked by Mance Rayder, he leads a few Night's Watchmen down below to take out the giant that's breached the walls there, and we're later told that this single fact, as he successfully kills the giant at cost of his own life, may have held the wildlings from taking the castle long enough for Stannis to arrive, and Stannis, being the greatest tactician in Westeros of the time, states that he probably wouldn't have been able to take the castle had the wildlings held the wall. So, real hero, Dolan Noy. Also, this last shot here of his shadow being reflected kind of onto the hand of the giant. As we know, his spine was crushed, and that's kind of how he died, and then he stabs him in the throat. Great sense of scale and monumentality there. Then we get Jon Snow's election with Mormont's Raven in the background as the knights watch cheers. Tyrion Lannister kind of juxtaposes the raising of swords. First book, there's a lot of nice little details here. His little hands, his nose, the dichromia with his eyes, kind of his general ugliness, but he's still, like, you can still tell he's short with the swords around him. Good shot of cold hands. Then a wonderful picture of the Tower of Joy and the knights Arthur Dane, Gerald Hightower, and Oswald Went, who literally looks like Batman with that helmet. You can tell it's the fever dream because of the sort of bluish hologram vibe and the way they move in the actual shot. The only critique I have there is that Dawn, the sword, is a little... It doesn't really stand out as much as it should, but it's still very beautiful. One of the most epic scenes. The Kingsguard do not flee, our knees do not bend lightly. One of the coolest lines of the entire book. Shot of the Iron Throne, kind of keeping with the style of King's Landing we saw earlier. Very magnificent. I love the hole in the chair letting all the light through. We get a picture of the real fighting pits this time, with Dany just looking like she's loving it on Drogon's back as he blasts the fire. I like how his wings are transparent. I know that's probably contradicted by the source material, but it gives it kind of a neat touch. Lastly, we get this kind of spooky tree line, and then this magnificent blast of lightning reveals that there's actually 5 Nazgul-looking White Walkers here. One charges into the camera, and that ends the clip. So again, please all go check out this clip. It is one of the coolest adaptations of A Song of Ice and Fire I've ever seen. It's only like a minute long, but it's still wonderful. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.